Well, thank you all for joining us for another Mighty Monday. I'm sitting here with two friends and colleagues from Lohmiller and Company. So that is where we buy our amazing carrier equipment like what's sitting behind us. And we've got two industry experts today because we keep getting from our customers, hey, what's going on with this change from 410A to R454? What's happening? So as opposed to just hearing it from us, you guys are going to be getting it from the horse's mouth in terms of the whys, the hows, what this is going to look like, not just in 2025, but beyond. So with that, I'd love to introduce Ryan and Greg. Ryan, could you give us a little brief background on yourself?
Yeah, hi. My name is Ryan. I work here at Lohmiller, as Judd said. I work in the tech support department. So I am the local carrier tech support that guys will reach out to if they are needing assistance with design, fixing problems. I also help communicate to the factory to make sure that they understand what we're seeing out in the field so that the products can continue to get better and better.
I'm Greg. I'm the territory manager for Judd and Mighty Pine. I've been doing this for about 35 years and excited to work with companies like Judd that want to be great and provide their customers with great comfort. So,
well, thank you. Really appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys being here too, because what we hope this video is just a resource, not only for our team to make sure we're reinforcing it internally, but also for our external customers, because questions come up often about what this is going to look like. So, I mean, maybe Ryan, you could start us off with really what is driving this transition in the first place away from 410?
Well, so the entire goal is to try and reduce the global warming effect by 0.5 degrees Celsius by the year 2100. And the way that we're going to do that is by reducing the amount of higher global warming potential refrigerants that are being emitted into the atmosphere. So the new refrigerants have less of that. And global warming potential is how we measure how much energy the chemicals can retain in the atmosphere while they exist out there. And this can happen from manufacturing, it can happen from leaks that are nobody's fault, a variety of different things. And so we want to just simply reduce the amount that we have lost into the atmosphere that have a higher amount of that number.
Awesome. Way to make the world more green.
Exactly.
Awesome thing. And this is, we've been using 410 for quite a while now. So what are some of the major differences between that refrigerant and what we're moving to?
Well, really, there's only one major difference, and that is that it is a new classification known as 2L. 2L means that it has a low flammability index to it. Now, that could be very concerning to hear that something has a flammability index. But I'm here to tell you that the difference in flammability between what the existing refrigerant and the new refrigerant is minutely different. No homeowner or technician would realistically be able to see the difference in flammability between the two refrigerants. Otherwise, the lower global warming potential is obviously a big benefit between old and new, but otherwise the pressures and the temperatures that we operate at are basically going to be the same. The equipment does not have to change in any way that would affect any homeowner to be able to be used. The technicians that you guys have been through trainings to figure out how to work with this stuff, and there are even not that many differences on how to work with the new stuff even. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of business as usual.
Yeah, and that's the way it feels to us, but I don't want to just gloss over the flammability word because it is there. But the thing is for me, and this is the way I've grasped it with myself, is whether we're talking Carrier, Daikin, Goodman, any of these big brands, they're investing hundreds of millions of dollars each year in this equipment, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are not going to put something that's going to be dangerous to our homeowners in the customer's home.
Absolutely.
So that's the way I've simply described it to myself, because while yes, that definition needs to be on there just because, to me, I see it as a complete non-issue, but we wanted to make sure that folks didn't know about it.
No, I completely agree, and when I teach the classes on what to expect out of the new refrigerant, I share the exact same message you just shared.
Yeah.
It is not that big of a concern.
Awesome. With this though, in previous refrigerant changes, there's been a little bit longer of a window. So,
Yeah.
I mean, when we all got this message, we're like, okay, whoa, this is going to be a fun year in 2025. So can you guys walk through what the regulatory deadlines are in terms of making this change?
Yeah, so as of December 31st of 2024, the manufacturers were no longer allowed to produce equipment that had a global warming potential refrigerant of greater than 700. So that included the previous refrigerant that we're all accustomed to working with, 410. This here now is the period of time that we have to install the remainder of the equipment that was produced as of last year. And that extends to split systems, which would be found in most homes. December 31st of 2025 is the last day to legally install a older refrigerant split system. Now, that means that the outdoor equipment plus the indoor equipment. We do have some provisions for repair that are going to be allowed indefinitely. And that includes components in the outdoor unit, and at the indoor equipment, we are even able to just replace that entire component instead of having to make a single repair.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things that we've had recently because this is a transition year, right? So earlier on this year, all of last year, all we're installing is 410 equipment. And the customer is going to be like, well, what do I do, right? Because is this going to be available? Am I going to have refrigerant? Are these parts and pieces and bits going to go through the roof? Because they're making a change. So what is your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's not going to be a big issue. Just like we have the refrigerant before 410A was R22. It's pretty much worked its way out of the industry because of its age. But we'll have continual support from the factory on all components for furnaces, air conditioners, heat pumps, rooftops. All components will have, we'll have the parts for everything for 10, 15 more years to come. So, and the refrigerant itself, that's they can't produce anymore, but there's so much of it out there that it's not going to become an issue in this equipment's lifetime.
Yeah.
So,
going back to the inventory comment for a minute, and part of why this year is going to be challenging for all of us, we have 410A equipment in stock that's got to be used by the end of this year. Otherwise, it really becomes a paperweight at that point, right? So how are we going to manage it? I'll tell you, from what I've understood, Lohmiller's done a fantastic job of getting what we need to make this 2025 a smoother transition because we know it's going to be bumpy. But how are we going to manage that throughout the year? So we're in a customer zone. We're talking about what system they are going to go with. What is that going to look like?
it's going to be fun,
Yeah.
to say the least. Yeah, so basically what is produced out there and what is in distributors' warehouses, that's it. That's all there is out there. So it's going to be rough in the sense that, we put out a nightly inventory sheet just so your customers like yourselves, they know exactly what's available for their customers. So, advice today is if there's a 410A model available and they don't feel comfortable with the new refrigerants or just like the old tried and true, do it now because, we've already ran out of quite a few models. But our team at Lohmiller, our ownership really invested a lot in 410A product. So we have it throughout most of this year. But we're already seeing numerous models that we are completely out of and have moved into the new R454 refrigerant models. So, but yeah, it's going to be fun.
No, but I'll tell you, again, that goes back to what you guys are doing to really help us, which in turn helps our customers, because I don't know a lot of organizations out there that are producing a daily inventory sheet that's a reference point for us. And just to make everyone clear, that is by the SKU, what's available here in Denver that we can go grab.
Yeah.
So, because we're going to be sitting at kitchen tables where there's going to be a 2-ton version of this, but there's not going to be a 3-ton.
Correct.
And having that information to make the customer's decision easier in terms of what they move forward with is a huge help, because otherwise we're just like, hey, let me call and get back to you, and we don't know where it's at, and we're just trying to make this as smooth a process as we can. So we really appreciate that, genuinely do.
Yeah, it started in COVID world, when we couldn't get anything.
Yeah.
So I came up with the spreadsheet for the inventory literally 5 years ago because we wanted you guys to sell what we had, not what we wanted.
Yeah.
Because we weren't getting anything. So, but since then, everybody's just got really used to it.
Yep.
And again, now that it's not as bad as COVID world because we have a replacement for it, but we still definitely need to know which one, we're talking to the homeowner about, because unfortunately there is a price increase between the two.
Yeah, that was going to be the next question too.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there was a pretty decent sized price increase between going with the two refrigerants. That's why Lohmiller invested so much in 410A, trying to keep those costs down for the homeowners. But yeah, so we're still roughly at about $30 million worth of our 410A product. But literally every day that number goes down dramatically.
Yeah.
And there's nothing replacing it. So it's 454 from here on out for those models that are gone.
So the question that's been posed to us, and I'd like to ask you guys your opinion on it, is yes, there's a cost difference. Why? Is it efficiency? Is it better performance? What are some of the reasons why the 454 version of the equipment costs more?
So largely the reason is going to be because of efficiency. It went up once we added the new refrigerant into it. So you are now paying for a more efficient piece of equipment than existed before. And then there's also just the simple manufacturing change that has to take place. So from a business perspective, everybody has to transition what they're doing from before to now, and there's always a cost associated with that. So this is not a carrier branded problem. This is a industry problem that everybody is undergoing right now, and for both those reasons.
Awesome. That is all the questions I have for today, guys. So is there anything that you'd like to add that you think our team or our customers would appreciate hearing regarding this?
You know, the biggest thing that I like to point out is, Greg talked about if you're not comfortable buying the new refrigerant, then we have a lot of inventory for this year for you to be able to pick from. But I would encourage you to do your own research, talk to people like Judd about what this refrigerant actually looks like. If you are concerned about certain things, Judd and his team have a tremendous amount of knowledge to be able to put your mind at ease for transitioning into this new refrigerant, because as both of us have already said, there's really nothing to worry about.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for tuning in today, and thank you guys for just helping today, because this has been great for us in terms of just messaging this right to our community. So appreciate your time, and thanks. We'll catch you on the next one.